I'm transforming plastic trash into dollhouse miniatures. I'm using plastic from memory card packaging, batteries, and other random junk. I'm starting by drawing myself some guidelines for cutting the plastic into various shapes. For this shallow plastic piece, I drew a circle and 2 little handles. This is the same type of plastic, but I drew a space where I can add a handle to turn it into a pan. For each of the pieces, I drew guidelines that fit best with that piece of plastic and cut off the excess. This bit of memory card holder plastic was too deep for me, so I cut off some of the rim and made it a shallower pan. These pieces of plastic came with false eyelashes, and I immediately thought they looked like a casserole dish. I used my heat gun to change the shape of the bottom so it can sit flat. I softened the plastic little by little and used my thumbs to press the dent inward. Heating the plastic and allowing it to cool in a new position can change the shape. This will be the bottom of a casserole dish, and the other part will be the lid. I cut out the bottom, then traced the shape onto the lid to make sure they match. To prepare the plastic for paint, I sanded most of them, aside from a couple really flimsy ones. For the pieces that could handle it, I used the sandpaper to fix any sharp edges, round some corners, and add some tooth to the surface so the paint will stick. The prep is complete, so I'm moving on to paint. To help acrylic paint stick to plastic, I like to add some Mod Podge or white glue. This black paint mixture will serve as the base coat for painting this piece metallic. Even painting the front and back, one coat was pretty see-through, so I added a second coat. While the sheet pan dries, I'm adding baking soda to the same paint mixture. The baking soda adds texture to the paint, which will help me mimic the look of cast iron. I want to paint the top and the bottom at the same time, so I stuck a very flimsy piece of plastic to a pencil with some museum wax. Since this paint mixture has a lot of texture, I like to apply it in a stippling motion. I chose this really thin piece of plastic to receive this textured paint in the hope that it would help stiffen it up and add some weight. Due to my lack of planning, I'm adding the handle now. I chose thicker plastic for the handle and layered 2 pieces. I glued the handle to the underside with a little nub I created. To unify the handle and the pan body, I decided to add a thick layer of wood glue. I added the wood glue on the outside and inside of the pan. The wood glue will add a lot of strength and weight to this thin piece of plastic. I'm trying a new technique on this flimsy piece of plastic. I love the shape and the clarity, so I coated it on the front and back with some Diamond Glaze to make it look like a plain glass dish. It added some strength and retained the look of clear glass. I'm painting the pieces I think look like a casserole dish using some nail polish. To prevent lap lines, I applied a lot of paint at once to push it around rather than drag a small amount and leave brush strokes. You could paint these with acrylic paints, but I really wanted to see how the different plastics would react to nail polish and other materials. Between sketching the pieces, cutting them out, and doing some light sanding, this transformation only took a couple minutes. This is the same flimsy plastic I'm using to make the cast iron pan. I added a coat of nail polish to the outside and a layer of enamel paint on the inside. It reacted very poorly to the OP nail polish and became all wavy and misshapen. This heavier piece of plastic held up to the nail polish much better. I nearly forgot to use this piece of plastic I've been hoarding for 2 years. I did a test patch to see how my treasured piece of plastic would react before painting 3 bowls. I painted the inside of this bowl and the outside of 2 others. Painting just to the inside of the plastic leaves the outside looking really smooth and shiny. To finish the sheet pan, I added multiple layers of silver paint, but I still couldn't cover the black. To disguise the streaks, I added a layer of watered down paint. This is a mixture of yellow ochre and brown. I'm adding the look of rust using a new product and one of my old favorites. I added rust all to one side and dirty down rust to the other. In a future video, I'll do a deep dive comparing these products. For cleaner, newer looking metal, I used gray mixed with Elmer's glue to base the next piece. One coat of the silver paint was able to easily cover the gray, unlike the black base coat. With just a couple simple steps, I transformed this piece of plastic into a miniature pie pan. The wood glue is dry and my cast iron skillet is a lot stronger and heavier. I mixed up some more of the Mod Podge, black paint, and baking soda and gave it a coat on the inside and out. Once it dried, I made the cast iron look a bit more used by adding some shaved white chalk pastels. It looked a bit too worn, so I added some black as well. The black chalk pastels mixed with the white and gave it a very realistic matte look. I kept it white on the bottom and the sides so the pan looks nice and dry. For some added realism and functionality, I used my pin vise to make a hole in the handle. I folded a piece of sewing thread, pulled it through the hole, and tied a small loop. Let me know if you have any suggestions and which of these pieces is your favorite. I'd love for you to join my Patreon as a free member or as a paying member for $3 a month. You can check out this video next if you'd like to make some plants for your miniature space.